All right, this is the 45th meeting of the GMMA. I'd like to thank Metals USA and Muskogee Public Schools for providing lunch and hosting the meeting. Appreciate that. At this time, if we could go around the room and introduce ourselves, I'll start. My name is Eric Elgin with Oklahoma Interpack.
I'm Cliff Marshall, Meridian Brick. William Whitfield, Meridian Brick. Shannon Farmer, Georgia Pacific.
Troy Burnett, Acme Engineering.
Lonnie Bond, Georgia Pacific.
Julie Brummett, Engineering.
Lee Butler, Acme Engineering.
Brian Reynolds, Acme.
Ken Morris, Virginia.
Judy Holmes, Oklahoma Manufacturing.
Matt White, Yobby.
Tiffany Town, outside South USA.
Ken Scott, Metals USA.
Eric Anderson, AK Anderson Company.
Andy Anderson, A.J. Anderson Company.
Julie Olson, Oklahoma Interpack.
John Phil, Oklahoma.
Chance Bunsey, Central Motor and Ralph.
Jim Eaton, Bank of Oklahoma.
Michelle Hunt, Encore. Colleen O'Reilly, Encore.
Kathy Adair, Indian Capital.
April Murillo, Indian Capital.
Dick Morris, Advantage Control.
Josh Fox, Ballarat.
Mike Lyle, Ballarat. Tim Payne, Ballarat. Chris Williams, Fort Muskogee. Kevin Ishmael, Center Cap.
Marie Sires, Fort Muskogee. Carrie King, Fort Muskogee.
Tim Thompson with OG&E.
And I'm Treasurer McKenzie with Bridges Out of Poverty. And I got one more student.
David Hill, this lap. Okay, thanks everybody for coming. You guys should all have a packet with the minutes from the last meeting. I'd like to consider a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. At this time, I would like to introduce Ken Scott. He's the plant manager from Metals USA, and he's going to give us a little update on Metals USA.
How's it going, everybody? I'm Ken Scott. I'm from Metals USA here in Muskogee, Oklahoma, the big blue building out there on the highway. Everybody kind of wonders what we do. On behalf of my boss, Michelle Arnold, our general manager, we were really happy to host today's lunch and provide lunch for today. Who are we? We are actually Reliance Steel and Aluminum. We do business as Metals USA. We were purchased about 3 years ago. As Reliance Steel and Aluminum, we are a publicly traded company, ticker symbol RS. We are the largest steel service center in the United States. We have over 300 locations throughout the world, and we're in 12 different countries. Currently, we employ 17,000 employees, and here in the greater Tulsa area, Green Country area, we have just over 500 employees. If you'll look at your little flyer here, currently we produce or sell in excess of 100,000 products to 125,000 customers. If you'll look here and you open it up, you'll see right there a list of our products and our processes. Today with me, I have one of our outside sales people. It's Tiffany Town back there in the back. And she'll be more than happy to come by and look at some of your processes and look at some of your organizations to see how we can benefit you to make your jobs cheaper and more effective. Some of the things we do here, we were asked to do a plant tour. I just couldn't do one today. I apologize. I'm in the process, our plant is in the process of actually moving approximately, just actually a little over 2,000 tons of steel through our plant today alone here in Muskogee. We are moving a lot of steel right now. It's a great organization. Reliance Steel and Aluminum is a great organization. As a matter of fact, a couple of years ago, we made Forbes Fortune 100 list of top companies to work for in the United States. It's a great company. My boss, Michelle Arnold, has been part of the organization for 37 years. Some of y'all know her. She started off at Yappy, back there in the back, and then when Bob sold off Unisteel, that's how we got our start as Unisteel, and then became bought out by Metals USA and now Reliance Steel and Aluminum. Here in the local area, we own Port City Plate, EMJ, Trident, Delta, and Metals USA. So we do have several different names underneath our marquee. Like I said, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to get a hold of our sales staff. We can come and look at the processes that you have going on in your facility and we can help you make you more productive. Currently in the Muskogee area, we employ 35 people, just hired 4 more last week. We run 3 shifts, we run 24 hours a day, and we run 5 days a week. We take Saturday and Sunday off unless we have a special project. As a company, we move 5,000 rail cars a month of steel. We also move steel by barge and by truck. Here in the Muskogee area, I'm going to say I probably move about 100, 150, something like that. So, any questions for me? That's who we are, Metals USA. Like I said, we're located at the Port of Muskogee. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation.
Yes, sir.
Okay, at this time, we're gonna have a program, like Dan to come up and do a little introduction for us.
I got chosen for this because no one knows Treasurer McKenzie, so someone has to introduce her. I just wanted to take a chance to thank her for coming, and what I would like from you is to listen to what she says, but remember that she is trying to condense a 3-hour program into 30 minutes. And this is also her first attempt at doing this presentation. So cut her a little bit of slack. I think she's way more nervous than she needs to be though. And my involvement, I'm on the steering committee of Bridges Out of Poverty, and I've been involved in a lot of different things towards helping people. And to me, this is the most significant program that's come along in a long time because you can actually see results. You can see things happen. What she's going to talk about is generational poverty, and I think this may help illustrate a point. I'm just curious, how many engineers do we have in the group? Okay. How many of your fathers were engineers? So about half. Or mothers. The point of that is that you tend to do what your family does. Generational thinking is really there. So you can see it in this room. So think about it in the context of what Treasurer's going to tell you. Ms. Treasurer McKenzie.
Make sure my technology works. Hi everyone, I do know most of you. And yes, we are going to shove a lot of information in a little bit of time. If I get going too fast and you need me to slow down, just tell me. If you want to ask questions, I will do my best to answer them. Most of you know me because I was the president at the Muskogee Chamber of Commerce for 4 years. I've been the director of Bridges Out of Poverty for about 6 months. I was a volunteer for the program. After I went to one of the community workshops, I was sold. I went and said, oh goodness, I have to help this program somehow. Using the skill sets that I had at the chamber and the connections that I had, it was a good fit. I was volunteering, and the director at the time was Tom Martindale. He was 72 years old and said, I can't do this forever. I want to retire. Would you consider applying for my job? I didn't even have to think about it. It was absolutely, I will. And I know that makes Rodney Bond really mad because he was just about to be the chairman of the chamber, of the board of directors for the chamber, and I bailed on him. So, sorry, Rodney.
Well, tell the other half of the story. Sue talked me into joining the...
Sue Harris talked him into being on the board, and as soon as he got on the board, she quit. I think it's just you. So yes, we do have community workshops. We'll talk more about that are 3 hours long. And so we're just going to give you a little taste. And has anybody in this room been through the workshop? I think Eric has, Dan has. And so I encourage you to visit with me. I'll let you know when the next one is, or I can come to your business and do them as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about poverty and what our program looks like. I'm going to walk around and hopefully you can hear me. I'll try to be loud. So half of what we do is empower those who are in poverty to become self-sufficient. The other half is to educate the business community and the middle class about the complexities of poverty. So tell me what your definition of poverty is. Somebody just say it.
On welfare.
On welfare? Anything else?
Homeless.
Homeless?
Food insecurity.
Say it again.
Food insecurity.
Food insecurity? Good. Lack of money?
No money.
No money, right? We all think no money. That's what everybody kind of thinks. If you just work harder, budget better, make better decisions, you can dig your way out. We think that people who ask for help are needy and weak, not to be trusted, lazy. But that's not always the case. People in poverty are amazing problem solvers. Our definition of poverty is to the extent to which someone, even a community or an organization, does not have equal access to resources. Dan mentioned some of us had access to mentors to guide us along, shepherd us along through how we got to where we are today. These people don't have those resources or equal access to them. So people in poverty don't think they have a lack of money. They don't see it that way. They see it as a deep sense of shame, feeling trapped, hopelessness, and fear. So poverty is not necessarily a one resource issue. It's not just a lack of money. We say that there are 11 resources that we all have access to that make up who we are. So yes, money is one of them, lack of money, but lack of mental support, physical, spiritual, there are several of them. So if you have $1 million in your bank account, you meet, and you are poor in the other 10 resources, you meet our definition of poverty. And we educate them on the importance of knowing what generational poverty is. So we empower our people to build their own resources so they don't have to receive resources such as welfare and social services. Generational poverty can be an addiction, kind of like Dan said. And we all know from the 12-step program, at first you admit you have a problem, then you realize you've tried everything you know how to try, and it's not working. The definition of insanity. You don't know what else to do. That's where we come in. People who want to change but don't know what to do. So does Muskogee have a poverty problem? A good way to look at it is looking at our free and reduced lunch rate at the school. 86%, and the majority of these are free per my guard. You can see Muskogee's rate, 21, Oklahoma 16, and the national average is 13.5. So the middle class is shrinking, and the working poor class is growing. Is that a sustainable model for Muskogee? Can we keep doing this? If we don't do something, nothing changes. So helping one family at a time seems to be the only thing that's working. So what's the solution? If money's not the only problem, then money's not the only answer. Success, we consider success as going from an unstable environment to a stable environment. Because you can make changes in your life so much easier if you're not worrying about where you're going to sleep tonight or what you're going to feed your kids. So knowledge is power, and that's what we provide, is knowledge. Our work is based on Dr. Ruby Payne and Phil DeVoe's books. It's a national model. And what we do is we look through the economic classes through a triple lens. The individual, people in poverty, institutions, the business owners, and the whole community. This is a community issue. And if you'll see, the overarching issue is policy. And we'll get to that. So how do we do it? The first book there is Bridges Out of Poverty. That is a book that is for the resourced. That is for the people who are in the middle class. It educates us about the complexities. The second book is our workbook that we use for the people who are actually in poverty. It's called Getting Ahead in a Just Getting By World. And then the third book there is Bridges for Sustainable Communities. That's for the community to address. So what our program looks like very quickly, we are funded by the City of Muskogee Foundation. Our program is one of the only programs that they initiated. We didn't come to them and ask for the money. They started the program 5 years ago, actually almost 6. They decided to give it a 5-year grant because something like this you can't just solve in 1 year. And they knew they were going to take some time to get outcomes. So the 5 years ended last June, and the outcomes were so good that they decided to give another 5-year grant. So we are in year 6 of this program. We have 2 coaches. I'm the director. In the picture there is Diana. She's our Spanish-speaking coach. And Sheena is our English-speaking coach. We have classes at St. Paul for 20 weeks, every Tuesday night. At 5:30, the whole family comes in. We give them a healthy meal. And then the children go off to child care. And the adults go up to class. And they work in that Getting Ahead workbook. Some outcomes. To date, we have 243 graduates. You can see the breakdown there. We did have a felon reentry class. Now the felon reentry class is going on at the Gospel Rescue Mission. We have 2 classes going on right now in Eddie Warrior and Just Done. And our outcomes, 69% of our graduates have increased their income, 56 decreased their debt, 34 increased their education, and 51% are now banked. Banking is a huge issue with people in poverty. They don't trust institutions. So what do they learn? We'll touch on this in just a little bit, but we talked about the 11 resources. So that they learn how to go from concrete thinking, which is the tyranny of the moment, which means putting out fires constantly all day long, to abstract thinking, planning. How do you make a plan? The hidden rules of the social classes, how to set smart goals, the importance of expanding your social capital. We all know that networking is crucial to what we do. If I have a banking problem or a question, I can call up Jim Eaton and ask him. I have a Jim Eaton. These people don't have a Jim Eaton. And how important lifelong learning is. And they learn how to investigate the barriers that are keeping them there. What's going on in our society and in our community that's making it worse, that's making it harder for them to dig their way out. That's why we call the people in our classes investigators. They are investigating. And then at the end, they create their future story. The first time some of them has ever thought ahead. So let's talk a little bit about the hidden rules. I'm gonna grab my water while we're talking. So have you ever been in a social setting where you were so uncomfortable you just wanted to leave? Have you ever been to church, like a brand new church, and sat down anywhere you wanted? How'd that go? You didn't know the Johnsons were supposed to sit there? That's their social norm. That church's social norms, where everybody sits. So the hidden rules are the way we decode the world. If you don't know these hidden rules exist in middle class, you're going to break these rules. You've got to know what they are. And they're hidden. Nobody tells you what they are. So we try to help them to understand that. It doesn't mean they're wrong or right. It just means they're different and nobody tells you. For example, the hidden rule on food. So in poverty, when someone feeds you dinner, the question is, did you get enough food? Are you full? Did you get full? My grandma says that all the time. Are you full? Did you get enough? In middle class, we always say, did it taste good? Are you happy with it? And in the wealth, was it presented well? Did you enjoy the environment? That's what's important to them. Destiny. In poverty, they believe that it is what it is. Their future is, whatever's going to happen to them is going to happen to them. In middle class, we think our decisions can change our future. Choices we make now can mitigate our future. And in wealth, the least obliged. To whom much is given, much is expected. Just different mindsets. There's a lot of these hidden rules that we go over in the workshop, but I thought one that was interesting is money. In poverty, money is to be spent, to be used. In middle class, it's to be managed. And in wealth, it's to be conserved and invested to leave your legacy. We go into that a lot deeper. So when you go to a party and you meet someone for the first time, usually what's the first question you ask after that? What do you do? Right? It's just automatic. Okay, hold on. It's not working. You got it? I may have to click through. I know, right? So this is ahead of where that is. Okay, it stopped on us. So what is the answer to what do you do? It depends on what you say is how big the O is. If you say, I work at a hospital. Oh, okay. Or if you say, I'm a neurosurgeon. Oh. And then there's follow-up questions, right? I'm glad we have an IT guy here because that is not my skill set. All right, we're there. So it automatically Then apply for status. Very quickly, we find out in the middle class what your status is by just asking you a couple questions. And when we hear something we don't understand, we automatically judge and react. So when you need to relax and recharge your batteries, when you just can't take it anymore, what do? Take a trip? You go on vacation. Do people in poverty get a vacation? Actually, yes, they do. But boy, do we judge them for it. We had one of the previous directors of Habitat for Humanity. When someone has a Habitat house and they're not paying their rent, you go in to check on them and tell them, you got to pay your rent, you're behind, and they've got a large screen TV, tons of DVDs, and of course our middle class well-intentioned mindset says, well, if you just sell that TV, you can pay your rent, right? Well, they don't get a break. They don't get a chance to recharge. Sometimes that TV is their only escape from their chaos world. So their stress level is just as high as ours. It's a moral decision, not an economical decision. It's a mental health decision. Sometimes taking that cigarette break outside the door from your screaming kids for 3 minutes is the only break you get. The middle class has the luxury of taking a break. Even after a stressful meeting, we go into a little room for a second and chill out for 10 minutes and recollect our thoughts and debrief. They don't have that opportunity. We talk about predators of poverty, which is your payday loan places, rent to own, come get your taxes done right now, we'll give you the money right now, we'll charge you extra. They prey on the people in poverty because they are in the tyranny of the moment. They don't have a cushion, they know that. So let's say you're lucky enough to have a 40-hour-a-week job, you make $1,600 a month. Once the things up there on the screen are done, you're already in the hole. And you haven't even talked about utilities, toiletries, healthcare. So what would you do? You have two choices. You can go to a bank or a payday loan. The difference? My world is a little chaotic anyway. I can go into this bank. It's a very large building with lots of windows. It's quiet. My kids really don't feel welcome. They're in business suits, and they're probably just going to tell me no anyway. Sorry, Jim Eaton. Or I can go down the road to Liberty Finance, where when I walk in, they call me by my name. There's music going on in the background. They walk up and say, "Hi, treasure. Here's 50 cents, kids. Go get yourself a pop and then go to the play area while I take care of your mom." They're nice to me. They treat me with respect, of course. So the choice is kind of easy. And so when we're sitting here going, well, let's get rid of these payday loan places, and they're thinking, that's our only option, guys. Just something for us to think about. But it's not enough to just remove the barriers. We have to have policy change. So what happens when Dan Morris comes into work 15 minutes late? Anybody say anything to him?
Nobody noticed.
Nobody notices. But what happens when the frontline employee comes in 15 minutes late because his car broke and it wouldn't start again? But possibly fired, especially if it's again. Yeah. So policies are usually the strictest and most severe for the people in poverty, the people who can afford to deal with it the least. What policies do we as a business, we as a city, we as a state, we as a nation have in place that are punishing people the most who can affect it the least? We have a steering committee in addition to the Health and Wellness Committee of the Foundation, and their job is to take the information that our Getting Ahead graduates give us about the barriers they're facing and address it at a community level. Dan Morris is on our steering committee. You'll notice we have 4 Getting Ahead grads. They're the experts. They're the people in poverty. We always want them at the table when we're making decisions. And a good example is we are a national model for groundbreaking policy change. Our chairperson is Wayne Johnson. And one of the things our graduates keep saying to us is the water department of the city is killing us. We're always having to pay fees. So he started to investigate it himself. After some investigation, as a city councilor, he found out that 97% of the customers of the city of Muskogee water had a fee in the last 2 years. 97%. That is not just the people in poverty. And that makes up $1.4 million of the city's budget. So do you think they're willing to give up that? So we found out why. The billing cycle was 7 to 9 days. So if I go on vacation and I get my water bill the day I leave, and I may not come back until day 9, guess what? Guess what I have to pay to get it turned back on? A fee. So it's affecting the whole community. After more research, we found out that renters pay higher water deposit than homeowners. Guess who rents? People in poverty, the under-resourced. So it took a while, but as of January 1st, the water billing cycle is now going to go from 7 to 9 days to 12 to 14 days. You think this made the payroll department happy? Probably not, because that's the way the computers were all set up. They had to change their software. Renters will not pay a higher deposit than the homeowners, and they can pay half up front, and the rest can be paid out in their bill in $20 increments. That's policy change. So it affects a lot of people, not just the people in poverty, but they were getting hurt the worst. We do those community workshops I was telling you about. We just trained the entire Muskogee Police Department in bridges. We have a book called Tactical Communications. It's all about creating a relationship with somebody. And we are going to train the entire EMS department in April. The difference is they understand how important relationship is. If you go on a call and you can say there's a wreck and you realize that person's in poverty, you can create a relationship with them really quick and get a lot of information that you need versus showing up and barking orders at them. I talked to one of the EMS instructors that have read the book, and he said, you know, I understand so much better now how to do my job, because if I go on a call with someone in poverty, I understand that concept. I can talk to them, create relationship, and we can get more done. However, if I go on a call and say maybe country club, I understand that I am simply providing a service. That's my role, and that's okay. It's how I do my job differently now because of this. A little bit about our program, and we're almost done. The child care that we have 215 kids that have seen their parents get ahead. When we talk about generational poverty, the kids are watching everything. They see mom struggle. They see the decisions that you're making, so they're seeing them change their mind. We have a paid child care staff, and the former director, Tom Martindale, was a book reader, and he's always giving me book reports. But one of the books he read was The One World Schoolhouse. It's about the Khan Academy. It's an online global classroom. Anybody can log on, watch these videos, understand concepts, and ace your test at school. All the way from kindergarten to chemistry and college and more. And so we were like, if we could just get these kids access to the Khan Academy on Tuesday nights, we can help them. But we didn't have computers. So I put a want out there and said, we need some laptops. And an anonymous donor came forward and said, here, we can get you 10 Microsoft Surface tablets. So we had them last semester. These 5 kids at the top at graduation actually were the ones who consistently used it for 20 weeks and graduated in December. All of them increased their grade level in math and in grammar by 2 grades. So it was a pretty big deal. One girl, she's in that picture, had all F's in August, and by December she had all A's. And as of January, she has the highest math grade in her whole school because of Khan Academy. Now, how do you think that makes mom feel? Right? It's great. Now, here's a picture of Shamonte and John Tyler Hammond's our former mayor. Shamonte's in 3rd grade. He was at a 2nd grade level in math and grammar, and now he's at a 4th grade level in both. But he also, on his spare time, decided he wanted to learn about finance, markets, and mortgages. And so he was watching those videos, and he ended up taking the quiz afterwards and passed it. So he started walking around and asking people if they own their home or rent their home. And of course the people in our classes were looking at him like, what? So it's working. This is a picture of our felon reentry class. That's Tom Martindale and Marvin, one of our graduates. They use a workbook called Getting Ahead While Getting Out. Not only do they create their future story, they create a 72-hour plan for when they get out. What are you going to do in the first 72 hours? Are you going to go back to the people and the things that you were doing that got you here, or are you going to try something new and different? We have our Spanish-speaking class. Community volunteers. If you or your business or organization would like to come and provide a meal or serve a meal, we'd love to have you. And part of what we learn is how to increase our social capital, who we know. So at the chamber, as a volunteer, I kind of came up with this idea, if we're asking them to do this, why aren't we providing them with people to meet? So we asked a few speakers to come. And you know how important it is when you've got Mike Guard standing in front of these people saying, if your kid's getting bullied, here's my cell phone number. And they can lean over to their neighbor and say, oh my gosh, I have Mike Guard's business card with his cell phone number on it. And the mayor comes and explains how important it is that if you mow your grass at your rent house, it helps me bring more jobs here for your family. Make that connection. And then they know the mayor. One of the things that our graduates say that is a barrier for them is dental health. A lot of them have drug history. And so a couple years ago, we built, that picture right there is actually our dental clinic that is in a little room in the basement of Central Baptist Church on East Side Boulevard. You'd never know it's in there. We have 3 local dentists who volunteer on a rotation, one Saturday a month. It's Dr. Hoops, Dr. Dunn, and Dr. Fishburne. They come and they do dental work, extractions and pain management for our graduates. And you can see some of the things that they've said. They also can have dentures and eyeglasses. This helps them tremendously when you're going into a job interview and you can see to read the application and say your words correctly because your teeth are fixed and your confidence level is high. So, what can you do? We have a graduation, but the week before graduation, we have what we call a social. It's just a dinner where we invite people from the community to come and sit with the people in our classes and just meet them. Nothing more. Just eat dinner. Just sit down next to the person next to you and visit with them. That's all. And then the week after that, on that Tuesday night, is our graduation. We like to fill St. Paul's Sanctuary for graduation to show them that the community cares, that they're trying to better themselves. And I can tell you, they are so proud. Some of them have never received a certificate for anything. It's a big deal. After they graduate, we do offer them financial literacy classes because by then they're used to learning and they're hungry for more knowledge. So they go through Money Matters 101, and we start with how to read your paycheck. The difference between net and gross, all the way to pulling and repairing your credit report. And then they can go to Financial Peace University. You can see someone's name tag up there. I'm worth it. Our graduates like to give back to their community because now they feel a part of it. Our food team is made up of graduates, and this is the Spanish graduates, the Spanish-speaking class graduates at the Mayor's Citywide Cleanup Day. We do have a smartphone app for people who does anybody ever ask you, where can I get shelter, where can I get food, things like that. You can, it's for the iPhone only, Android's coming soon, but it can tell you where all the food pantries are in Muskogee. National awareness. Thanks to Dan Morris, one of his employees in that picture right there, Kimberly, volunteers for an organization, a charity called the Peace Fund, which happens to be run by Adrian Paul. You might know him as the Highlander in a TV show in the 90s. So he was in Tulsa for Comic-Con, because he teaches sword fighting experiences at Comic-Con, and wanted to interview Muskogee Bridges about our program for his LA talk show on the radio. So that was a fun day. We got to go up there, and consequently, we accidentally met Fonzie on the way out, which was kind of cool. He was there for Comic-Con too. And in September in Orlando at our national convention, Muskogee was named National Bridges Community of the Year. We are a national model for success in what we're doing and how we're using the concepts to change our community. So we are in the business of believing in people. Getting ahead is not about getting poor people to behave. It's all about empowering them to deal with the reality they don't understand and overcome the barriers to success, because everyone's journey matters. That's what we do. So I would encourage you to please look at the policies that you have in place. See what the impact they're having, because we all have to follow the same policies at your business, right? Is it hurting some people more than others? I encourage you, if you've got job opportunities and you're willing to give somebody a chance, after they've taken our class, they're a little more open-minded, ready to learn. They're changing their lives. Let us know. Have you ever thought about asking your employees, is there anybody that works for you that are on social services? Ready to ask? There are changes that can be made at the institution level, the city level, the state level, and the national level. We're just trying to make a change. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Richard, how do they get into the program?
There's an application they fill out, an interview they go through. They have to pretty much convince us that they're willing to change. You know, there are going to be people that want to just stay on the couch for the rest of their lives. That's not what this program is for. You'd be surprised with the working class, they want to change.
I'll just make a comment, if you want to feel good about things that happen, go to graduation.
Yes, please come to graduation, May 23rd.
How do you get the word about the graduations out?
I can let you know. Tell me you want to know, or actually, can I send it to you and you can send it out?
Send it to everybody else.
Yeah. Send it to Marie, and Marie can forward out the invitation. Love to have you.
How do you recommend you approach somebody who would benefit from the program?
We have brochures. That'd be a good way. It's really hard. You know, if solving poverty was as easy as us standing on the street corner and telling people to change, you know, we'd have already done it. There wouldn't be a problem, and it's not that easy. And so they have to want to change, but you can always just mention it to them, and then if you want, they can call me or I call them. You fill out the situation.
You have brochures with you?
I have brochures with me. They have one for every place, so there are some. Yes.
After a 5-year program, did you keep track of what caused poverty? How did they become in poverty?
Most of the time, it's generational. It's just they were never exposed to anything different.
Where I was raised.
Right. We do keep track of our graduates after about 6 months afterwards. We call them and we ask them those questions. You know, have you changed any behaviors since the class? What are you currently struggling with? Is there something we can help you with? And we kind of just keep track of where they are. A lot of times these people don't have the same phone number for very long, so it's kind of difficult to track them. But we do have personal relationships with all of them.
How did they find out about their needs?
Believe it or not, I think the first class was a little bit hard 5 years ago to get people to come, but word travels fast. And so once they start seeing their neighbors figure it out and start to do things differently, they kind of ask questions. And so we have a waiting list. It's not a very long one, but as people come to us and we feel, you know, we talk to them in their interview and stuff, we've got a list.
You might mention your graduate program.
Money Matters?
Yeah.
Yeah, the financial literacy class, thanks to the banks, I was able to, because the financial literacy class was something they were desperately hungry for, but we didn't have any money in our budget. Our budget was already set for 5 years, so I was able to go to the local banks and say, hey, we want to teach them about how to open a checking account. And they're hungry for this information, and the banks were able to give us some money to do that. But not first. That's not, we have to change their mindset first.
Treasurer, can you share, and I imagine he's going to be completely happy with this, but you shared a story of Stephen's story.
Yes. Stephen's story is, we've got so many success stories, and I could have gone forever. That's why I can do this in 3 hours. But Stephen's story was in our felon reentry program 3 years ago. He was out at FBTCC, a court-ordered place that you can go instead of jail in Fort Gibson. They came over and went through the getting out class. He currently he couldn't find a job because he has a felon. It was difficult for him. So he decided to get his contracting license, opened his own heating and air business in Tulsa, just bought his first van, has a new family, and has a new house in 3 years. And he says, I use the stuff I learned in this class every day because I needed that information. Because now, as a heating and air guy, I can go into a millionaire's house and I have to speak in formal register with him that I didn't even know what was before this class, and I can communicate with him well. And then the next minute I may go into someone's house who's in poverty and I can speak in casual register. He has to code switch. And we teach, that's one of our concepts we teach. So he's doing well. I've got a lady who just graduated with her master's degree from one of our first classes in social work. And she has a job waiting on her now. And that was 3 weeks ago. It's working. Yes?
So, I don't remember if there was a slide about this in the presentation, but have you heard any stories about how these people that have gone through the program, how their kids have benefited for the ones that do have kids?
They always tell us about their kids when we do their follow-up calls and what they're doing, because we have a relationship with them too. And we always ask, how are the kids doing? I don't have any data on it per se, but stories, yes, they're doing well. If the parents are doing well, the kids are doing better. And now that we've done the Khan Academy, it has changed the whole dynamic, because a lot of times, as a single parent, I wouldn't be able to help my kid with their math homework, but this program can. And now my kids are making good grades, which makes me proud. So it's affecting that whole dynamic.
They have to be residents of Muskogee.
They do because the funding that we get, the City of Muskogee Foundation money is for City of Muskogee residents. So that is one of our limitations. Yes?
Would you be able to send me some information that I can forward out to our companies? I'm sure that there are certain people within your companies that could benefit from this program. So,
Absolutely. So I can come and do a workshop for employees if you want, or give you brochures to hand out to people so they'll know about it.
Could you do one for this group?
A 3-hour?
Yeah. Could we put that together for you?
If you're interested, I can, yeah, absolutely. We can do it at my office at the Nonprofit Resource Center. Since we don't need a place to go. I'd be happy to. Those are fun, because those are the entertaining ones. We have the videos and the stories and all the fun stuff, and a lot of aha moments in that 3-hour workshop. Guys, I thank you for inviting me and wanting to learn more about bridges.
Thank you, Treasurer, for taking the time to present this to us. I think pretty eye-opening. I think obviously it sounds like you've got a lot of people in.
Awesome. I hate to bail on you. I have another presentation to make at 1:30. So I'm going to leave.
Okay, this time, it's time to bring up any old business. No old business. New business is any of our manufacturers have any announcements to make?
I've got an announcement to make. I'm proud to announce that my son, Eric, is now president of A.G. Anderson Company. That happened in January. I'm not retiring. He hasn't kicked me out yet, so I'm still employed and I'm doing what I like to do. So,
Congratulations.
anyway, it's good for me, it's good for the city of Muskogee, I believe, also.
Congratulations. Any other new business or announcements? Okay, so our next meeting, I've got to look at the date here. Okay, so our next meeting will be April 19th. Details of the meeting will be coming out when they're available. Appreciate everybody who completed the survey on topics. We'll let you know when we know more. Okay, so at this time we're going to do I guess this is the Fab Lab. We're going to have a tour, kind of explain a little bit about what's going on here. And that'll be Nathan Hill. So Hill's going to come up and
Nick, while you're coming up, if you don't mind, I'm going to make one last pitch. Again, you're about to do a tour, so you're about to see some really cool stuff, so maybe a bit more impact after you're done. But again, Muskogee Public Schools is offering a free 6-month membership to the Fab Lab. So if any of you are interested and did not get a chance to submit your business card or fill out one of these little slips of paper, I'd be happy to put some on the table.
so appreciate it.
So yeah, I'll, as many times as I've explained this lab to people, you think I'd be better at explaining it to groups of people, but I'm still not that good at it. So basically this lab was part of the 2013 bond issue, I believe, and we opened less than a year ago. I believe it was end of June of last year. And basically what I do specifically is I just manage the lab. I make sure the machines work. I'm the one that creates programs for the lab. I basically assist anybody that comes in here to use these machines. And one of the things that I've been attempting to do is build more programs for the students. In this classroom right here is actually the Pre-Engineering Academy that is taught by Janet Lopez. And some of her students, man, it's awesome seeing some of these bright students come in here. We had one kid come in here, had never used any of those benchtop mills over there before, and within a week, he had started programming his own circuit boards and soldering on components and stuff like that. He actually cut out a little heart that had his name and his girlfriend's name on it. With no knowledge, in a week he was able to figure out how to do that. So that's one of my favorite stories from this lab so far. But yeah, so I'm just going to give a general tour, but before everybody gets up and moves around, does anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Who gets to use this? What students? I mean, do they have to be in a specific class or?
So part of being called a Fab Lab means that we have to be open to anybody and everybody. So we are open to students, we're open to the community, we're open to the teachers. Pretty much if you want to come in here and use this lab, you can. MPS staff members, they have free access to the lab, and the students have free access to the lab. Students don't have to pay for materials unless they use a ton of materials, but I like to provide materials to them so they can work on their projects. Staff members do have to pay for materials, but other than that, they don't have to pay to use the machines. The community members, you do have to pay for a membership to use the lab. And I'm probably going to be redoing some pricing here soon. I'm not sure I'll have to get with Mike and all them to figure it out, but we're open to anybody and everybody. If you have a project, I actually had one student that was in here for a class, and she asked me if she could build a robot. And she asked it like kind of joking, like, yeah, but I can't build a robot in here. I was like, yeah, you can. She was like you could just see like the gears turning and the mind blowing. She was so happy, and she actually came up here last week and started talking to me about what she wants to do. So you don't have to be in any specific class or anything. Anybody and everybody. And it's my job to facilitate the learning of all these machines.
How much are the memberships?
So the memberships start out at $20 a month for, so once you pay for your membership, you go through a safety and orientation course, and then after that, you can use any of the machines normally. You don't have to pay for like certain sections of the lab. It's $20 and then $30 for the premium, and that allows you to actually reserve time on the machine. So if you know that you need to use a laser cutter, then you can reserve the laser cutter for 3 hours. And then we do have premium memberships and things like that.
When are you open?
We are open Monday through Thursday, 9 to 6. Friday, I'm here, but we're closed. That's the day that I do machine maintenance and stuff like that, since there's so many machines. The only problem is that I'm still an hourly employee, so I can only be here 40 hours a week without them paying me overtime. So, and that's partly due to the whole budget problem that we're having in Oklahoma with the schools. I know that they want to make me salaried, but they just haven't yet. So, at the moment, only Monday through Thursday. Yes, sir.
That was my question.
Oh, that was your question. Perfect. All right. Yes.
How do you get a cool-ass job like this?
Well, so that's the interesting thing. Everybody, when they hear me talk, they ask me, what my background is. Do I have an engineering background? I actually have zero engineering background. I worked at Marvin's grocery store over on York Street for 5 years. And then I worked in the technology department for Muskogee Public Schools for about a year. No. For about 2 years, sorry. And basically I was just a field tech. I drove around, I took care of Sadler and Raw and a couple other schools here in the district. And my boss hired me because, like I said, no technology experience. I've always been kind of the tech kid, but I've never really taken any formal training. And my boss said, and these words will stick with me till the day I die, we can teach somebody how to fix computers, but we can't teach them how to be nice. And at that time, the tech department was in a really bad light because of some things that had happened in the past. So, and then in September of 2013, or in August of 2013, we went to Tulsa and we toured their Fab Lab. And then they told me that they wanted to open a Fab Lab in Muskogee Public Schools, and they asked me if I'd be willing to run it. And I was like, sure. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So that was 2013. Wait, 2013 was when I got hired. Sorry, my time is getting messed up in my head. So yeah, I've been up here for a little over a year now. And I've had to assemble all the machines and pretty much build all of this from scratch with no engineering background.
And figure out which one's to order.
Yeah, and figure out which ones to order. Yeah, I've never been big into tools, and they were like, so you need to order like $200,000 worth of tools. And I'm like, great, well, let's see what happens. Thankfully with Fab Labs, to be called a Fab Lab, you have to have a set list of capabilities. And fabfoundation.org has this list of most of the machines you need, like laser engravers, 3D printers, things along those lines.
This is bigger than Tulsa though, isn't it?
Yes, so Tulsa has 2 3D printers, we have 7. They have 2 laser engravers that are smaller than ours, we have 3. They have 1 benchtop mill, we have 4. They don't have a metal shop at all. The only thing that they have that's better than ours is the wood shop. And they have 5 people running their lab, and only 1 person here. So So if I take a while to get back to you, if any of you email me, that's why. But yeah, and what's really cool about this lab is fablabs.io is this website that lists all of the labs in the world. There's 124, I think, last I looked, in America. Yeah, and in Oklahoma, there's only 3. So if you have been recognized as a Fab Lab, they put this little marker on the map. And there's one at Rose State College, there's one at Fab Lab Tulsa, which is the one that we toured, and then there's us. So there's only 3 in Oklahoma, and we're one of them.
Okay. And how many are connected throughout the country or with a school, a public school system?
So that's the other crazy thing about this lab. When it comes to public schools, I would say probably less than 10% of them are K-12. Most of them are community colleges or just community owned like Fab Lab Tulsa.
So are there classes that are based around this lab?
There actually is something called Fab Academy. So at MIT, Neil Gershenfeld is actually the professor that kind of started this whole Fab Lab idea. He taught a class called How to Make Almost Anything, and it was overwhelming, the response he got. So they built a lab at MIT, and then that took off, and then he started realizing that this is something that could benefit, the world. So they started building MIT-sponsored labs around the Boston area, and then it kind of exploded from there. So he actually does teach a class called Fab Academy. It's going on right now. It starts in January. It's a 6-month-long course, but it's a crash course. Like it's a big deal. He starts out with the basics of the machines, and then he covers in-depth 3D printing, 3D scanning, benchtop milling, making your own files. Like it's insane the amount of stuff that he covers in 6 months.
But that's not something that's done.
That's not something that's done through me. That is something that I would like to do in the future. We are wanting to start hosting more workshops, because the big problem we have right now is community outreach. Most people don't even know we're here. There's students that go to this school that don't know we're here. So I am trying to find more time to do advertising, community outreach, things along those lines.
I know I've talked to Nathan in the past. I know some other Fab Labs host skateboard building workshops over the summer. I took my husband on a tour here because he's a really big techy guy too, and always messes with all kinds of stuff. He wants to get all this equipment, and I was like, no, how about we just go get you a membership? And so he actually is looking to build a guitar.
Yeah, there's actually a workshop. I met a guy that runs a Fab Lab in Georgia. He actually runs a workshop in the summer where you go from scratch to having a guitar that you can play in your hand within the course of a few weeks. So I would absolutely love to start hosting things like that. But my problem I'm currently having is the machines are breaking faster than I can keep up with them. So I spend most of my time fixing things, and I don't get much time to plan. So
That might be a way to generate income. Have workshops for adults and
yeah, absolutely.
build a guitar.
And of course, I'm sure that the Fab Lab would never turn down any sponsorship opportunities should your business feel compelled to do so. I'm sure they'd be willing to put your name or plaque on the
Let's say we've
wall.
got a ton of empty space on the walls here, so feel free to contact me. Oh, and before I forget, if you would like to get more information, or my contact cards or business cards are on that table next to the door. So there's like 1,000 of them back there. So grab a handful if you want.
Well, I figure this is probably a good time as any to do this so that we're not standing up all around after the tour. But Nathan, if you don't mind, I'll give you the opportunity to draw one of our lucky winners. And of course, after you get through with this tour, you're going to find out how really awesome this membership building is going to be for you.
All right. Open the card for that, right? Michelle Hunt from Encore. There you go. All right. I will get with you after the tour.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, if
And one more thing, I'm so sorry, Nathan. I promised Carrie I'd say this. Also, I do want to encourage you, we've started including it on our invitations that go out, but if you didn't catch everything that was said today, either through Trevor's presentation or through Nathan's presentation, I would encourage you to go online to our YouTube and our Google Plus page. We have started uploading our meetings to that site, as well as like us Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. Thank you.
And I do have one more thing to say. You said Facebook, and it reminded me. We do have Facebook, Twitter. We even have an Instagram and a Snapchat. Now, I'm the social media manager for all of that, so there's not much posted now because I don't have the time to post. I actually have a lab tech that is a high school girl that loves social media, so I think I'm gonna get her to be my social media manager and give her some responsibilities. But yeah, definitely like us on social media. We do have a YouTube page as well, and we're gonna start posting YouTube tutorials for all of our machines. So that way, if you're wanting to work on something on a laser engraver, you can watch the video before you get here and then kind of know what you need to do before you get here. But of course, I'm here to help with anything. So, yeah.
Do some repair videos on the machines too.
What was that?
Do some repair videos on the machines, maybe.
Yeah, I actually repaired the ZHE back there, that giant 3D printer, just a few days ago, and I meant to set up my camera and record it, but I forgot. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Where do you want to start?
Well, so I've never had this many people in this lab at once, so I guess I can just